Let's begin with the day's proverb, City.
Confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying grain in a sack with a hole.
Those Nilots are funny. It's a Nilotic proverb.
It is.
Okay.
They're funny.
They're funny people. Hey. Our guest this hour is Dr. Agnes Wahome. She's from Kusips. We've been calling it Kusips all morning. Are we right? Is it how you call it, or you do call it cups?
We call it coops.
There you go. Where? Coops.
Coops.
Oops.
Well, the full name is quite a mouthful.
All right.
Yeah, Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service.
United. Limited. Authority. Yes.
Yes. So some say Kusips, Cusps.
Yeah.
Whichever pleases you.
Whichever floats the boat.
Yes.
The Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service. Give us a history and the background of this institution.
Coops started off as a JAB. You remember the times of JAB?
The Joint
Admissions Board.
Yeah.
That was just a committee of vice chancellors who would come together, hosted at the University of Nairobi, and do the placement of students. And that time we just had very few universities. Actually, Nairobi, KU was part of Nairobi.
University of Nairobi, yes.
Exactly. So when we got more university, now there was need to come together and see how to share these students. So we got the Joint Admissions Board. And this continued doing, they would only come together at that point. Once they, it was running like a secretariat. But after we got the new constitution, one of the new areas that came in that was that we needed a placement service to coordinate the placement of students into the different universities that had now come in. And we were already having the private universities that needed to also come on board, to enhance partnership, the public-private partnership, even in the role of education. So COOPS was then established under the Universities Act of 2012. But it only took off or was able to get off from JAB, to be established fully in 2014. So 2014, the team that was mainly working at the JAB, the secretariat, moved to establish COOPS. And we got the first CEO. This was Mr. John Muraguri, who worked at JAB, starting COOPS with a few staff members.
Okay. And whose mandate, sole or combined, is to do what?
Well, the main mandate is to coordinate placement of students, government-sponsored students, into universities and colleges. And this was, exactly what JAB was doing. But at that point, JAB was not coordinating the placement into colleges. It was just the universities. But now the mandate of COOPS was very clear. And again, we are talking of government-sponsored students, where government puts in money, somebody has to do the coordination. We also do career guidance for students in secondary schools, because the government understands that it's important to guide students into the different careers. You just don't place. There's need to prepare them. And then with all this placement that happens and career guidance, we have a mandate to advise government, because we are able to collect all this data. We are able to get who provides what. So it's our mandate to, ensure that this information is out to the public, and then guide or provide guidance to the Ministry of Education to be able to look at issues of policies, enhanced policies. Yeah.
As we were having a conversation about this, and we said, let's actually bring in, okay, I'm used to saying CUSIPs. Just allow me to keep saying that. CUSIPs, CUPS, CUSIPs into the conversation. It stemmed from looking at what we saw happening in terms of university placement and choice of courses, and then the subject clusters. And so we asked ourselves, we are basically talking about 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old children and asking them to make a choice that will determine what they end up becoming in their life. So what kind of information do they have, at their disposal? Are they able to understand? If somebody, is in school and you're in Form 2 and you're asking, what would you like to do? I want to be a doctor. Many of them, as we see in Standard 8, they have all these big names. I want to be a cardiologist surgeon. And then they get into Form 2, you find that changing again. So by Form 4, by Form 3, are they completely aware of what they'd like to do? Are they aware of their own capabilities or even inherent talent for them to be able to choose? And is that done very well? And that's why we said, let's actually bring the people who deal with this into the studio. So let me ask you the first question. You said there's a lot of career guidance that you do to the students. Do you do this in all schools countrywide?
Or how do you do it?
Okay. We do career guidance in different ways. One, we focus on the students, we focus on the parents, we focus on the teachers. Before I get into how we do it, allow me to just discuss what you said. When somebody is in Form 2, there is what they think. In Form 4, there is what they think. But career guidance should start very early. And that's where the role of the parent comes in, or the guardian. When a child is growing, as young as 5 years, you're able to, if you're an observant parent or a serious parent, you should be able to pick what this child enjoys doing. There are those who are very talkative, and you already see a journalist in them. There are those who like breaking up things, dismantling and putting things together. You can already start picking, personalities or traits of a child who enjoys working with their hands and therefore would be good in the area of engineering, So if you're a serious parent, when you get into parenting, it's not just about feeding and getting the child to grow physically. It's being able to observe and see what does this child enjoy doing. And then you have the discussion as they grow. And you see children at a certain age, by the time they're in 8 years, 10 years, they start acting out certain roles. You'll see that one who acts as a nurse in the house,
Right.
A teacher, the one who will come and really almost repeat everything the teacher was saying, carry chalk from school. You can already pick what their interests are. And then you engage in that kind of conversation. What would you like to be when you grow up? And they start saying, a policeman, because they saw the one managing traffic on the road. So it has to be something that you build upon as they go along. So by the time they're in standard 7, 8, you're already now shaping their thinking in terms of what you're seeing them enjoy doing and what they are saying they would like to be, and then the subjects that they are taking in school. So by the time they get to Form 2, Form 1 and 2, they start picking subjects. So if a child says, I would love to be a nurse, you have to ensure that biology is one of the subjects that they pick. But we find in most cases, parents have no idea when these students are picking their subjects. If I asked you, were your parents involved in picking your subjects? Did they even know you were choosing certain subjects?
My dad did, and also probably because of the kind of school that I went to. But I mean, yeah, my parents were involved because I guess a different kind of parent. But I understand what you're saying, that the majority are not really, because they're involved in the business of life, maybe not really paying attention to what they may or may not be interested in.
Exactly.
But I know
mother wasn't.
specifically my dad was very interested in where I was, and a lot of what I selected thereafter, even until way beyond in my career. You know, knowing that this child will be able to do 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
It's actually easier for a child who is in a day school
Yep.
to have parental involvement. In a boarding school, it's somewhat...
It's quite difficult.
Yeah.
My mother wasn't involved. Well, my mother knew because I knew what I'd wanted to do. What I'm doing now is what I wanted to do.
Great.
But then in terms of now the cluster of subjects and all, and what school to go to, she wasn't involved because she wasn't aware that the choices available.
Exactly.
I wasn't fully aware of all the choices available in terms of where can I then go and study media studies. I wasn't aware. So I was just selecting things.
And that's where now the gaps come in, because how serious does the school take this activity? There are some schools, the boarding schools, when their students are doing the subject selection, they ask the parents to come in. And they have that meeting with the parents, and we encourage them to do that. Get the parents involved, let them understand that this is a life,
How do you do it?
So we engage with the schools directly, the secondary schools, and we have a program for Form 1 and 2s and a different program for Form 3s and 4s.
And it's in all the schools in the country?
Now we have 10,000 schools in the country.
Yes, we do.
So we are not able to physically get to every school. So we work through the Ministry of Education, the Director, Secondary Education. So when we have activities, we engage with them. We've had training for teachers, and the good side of COVID is that we've been able now to use technology. We are having online training
What
for
do you
teachers.
train the teachers in?
On how to guide the students in subject selection and course selection, and how to engage with the parents.
All right. How do you train teachers to guide students in subject selection? Is it with a view to the interests that they may have? Is it with a view to...
Their strength in subjects.
Or is it with a view to the reality of the courses that they may prefer and how it would relate to the job market, etc., etc.?
Okay. The first thing is, what does the student want? What are the qualities of the student? Appreciating and respecting every student as an individual. First, working with them to help them identify what are their interests, what are their talents, and what are their strengths in certain subjects. An example, you may have a student who is not very smart in mathematics, right? But this student is very good in sports. So how do you get this student to first appreciate their talents? Because unfortunately, if this is not guided, that student who is not good in subjects is really put down, and they're only useful to the school when it comes to
Sports competitions.
Yes,
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, but linking their talent with a career and looking at them that, you can actually consider a career in sports as a trainer, a gym instructor. And if you're good in sciences, we have sports science, even at the university level. So being able to get the teacher to first appreciate and respect this child, and also the parent to do the same. So the teachers have a responsibility to also reach out to the parents to do this. So once I keep telling the teachers, these students are not like matchsticks, in a box where they have to be all the same level, Take time to work with individual students. And of course, there are challenges in the public schools where you find a class. I went to one of the schools and I found there were 500 candidates.
Wow.
Yeah. But the school is still doing very well, Miranda High School.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you respect and take every child's, strengths and capacities and talents, you can be able to help them towards a certain career.
I'm interested to know where all of this plays out in some schools. So, do you have government, representation at the school level? Excuse me, for example, or do you have representation at the school level, where kind of like where you have the children's department, for example, you have an officer in counties. When you walk into a high school, for example, or a university, and you'll find that there is a CUSPS representative, for example. How does this play out? That can I go to somebody and get this, kind of like how we had the career office on campus?
Yes. Now, we work with every school. Every school has a career guide, and they call them guidance
counselor.
Yes. So we work with those. We've trained those, from various schools in the country. So we empower the career guidance schools, counselors in schools. We've now also worked with the ones in colleges and the universities, the career officers, because we appreciate that though we are starting in schools, they still need to be followed up in universities and colleges, because they still get there and they feel, I'm not sure I got into the right course. I need to change.
Yep.
So we work with them so that they are able to guide the students to change the course even while they are in the university.
Dr. I have a problem here. I understand the training of the guidance counselor teacher, but there tend to be one teacher. One. With that population of students. And I'm thinking of the challenge that this well-trained person will have in carrying out their mandate so that the children actually benefit from this knowledge that they have.
Yes.
Because that guidance counselor's teacher is the same person to whom, whenever there are social issues in the school, go to. And those tend to take precedence.
Yes.
The only time careers and choices come in is when exams are around the corner. Have you had this discussion with the Kenya, the curriculum development?
Now we have, and it's very true, when you look at even the current curriculum, it's so packed. So we tend to be more reactive than, when there's
Than proactive.
Than proactive. Yeah, so that's a challenge we've seen. When we say now it's time for students to start making choices on their subject selection in Form 2, now that's when you find there's action and everybody writing to COOPs, come and help. When we say, we've trained you people, we expect you to be able to move this on your own, but everybody says, well, come and support. And we've seen the need to expand our reach. We have officers in Huduma centers in the country. We started off with 11, using mainly the old administrative boundaries of provinces. So in the old provinces, we have an officer in every Huduma in the province. We are now getting more because we are realizing we really need to reach out to every part of this country. But we cannot have an officer for every school. That's why we are empowering the teachers as trainers. So now we've trained teachers as trainers so that they're able to train other teachers. Then we are working very closely with the KESHA, Kenya Secondary Schools Heads Association. And what I like with them is that they have the student leaders. It's now that we have COVID, but in the past they have had annual conferences for student leaders. So all the head boys and head girls in the country are brought together, and we really take them through the whole process of career guidance. It's quite complex.
How do you measure progress through the year? Because you've just said by the time they get to Form 2 is when people start scrambling about, okay, what am I going to select for my courses? So you wouldn't really know the situation until something like that were to happen. So isn't there need for then a continuous assessment, as it were, interestingly enough, to see then these teachers that bear double responsibility, how much impact then do they have on the student population? Are they advising? Do we have students making the move to go to these teachers and say, okay, well, could you advise me then what I should be able to select for the career that I want to eventually pursue, or the course that I want to pursue in university? What should I be studying now? How are you able to assess, the impact that this then trained teacher has right at the school level?
Yeah. That's it's interesting. I love the question, but when we are thinking about looking at how old we are, like I said,
As an institution.
an institution, we are still growing. We are still growing, and we are looking at we prioritized. What is the burning thing? Every year we have to first place. Before we even think about anything else.
Yeah.
Every class that does exams, we have to place. That becomes our, primary thing, and we ensure that we have to do it in the most fair way, and we respect the student's choice. Yeah. Secondly, now comes in the career guidance. We are looking at, and we just started off the research department. I actually went in to set up the research department in 2018. And those are some of the things I was looking at. How do we evaluate and measure the impact of what we are doing? To what extent are we saying that we are fair? To what extent are we saying that the students are really empowered to make their career choices and they're actually getting into the right choices? So that's a department I started, and we started by first looking at data. Once we place the students, we look at the number of students who come to do their transfers. Are they and the reasons for the transfer? Are they transferring because they felt they did not end up in the right career? Or are they transferring because they have financial challenges or medical challenges? So for me, I want to see the issue of, this is not what I thought the course was, being the lowest on the list of reasons for transfer. Exactly. I also want to see more students, because we allow students to make their choices while in school. And after they have after the results are out, what we call the center application and revision.
Right.
I want to see more students making their choices while in school, even before they sit for the exams. Because the more we have those, it means these children or students are well guided, and the course they are picking is because of what is not so much because of the results, the A's and the B's they got, but it's because that is what they want to do.
And they're informed.
And they're well informed. Yeah. And when I look at the placement, we'll be releasing the placement results next week. The CS will be releasing this on Tuesday. And when I look at the students that we placed that made their choices while in school, 85% got what they wanted right there.
Okay.
So this student is it tells me that the student is well guided in terms of the course they want to do, and also understanding their abilities. That I may not be an A student. I'll probably get a C, and with a C, I'll end up in a diploma course. And I want to take a diploma in probably civil engineering, because I cannot get the A to get me to university to do civil engineering. I've seen we have 6,000 students who have C+ and above who have decided they do not want to go to the university. They want to take diploma courses. That tells you that person is very clear. If I'm not at this level. This is where I am, and I'm pursuing my career, not following what my grades can get me. Yeah.
That's very interesting. We look at more of those statistics because I think they, like you say, they reveal a lot about the understanding that the students have, even and their parents and guardians and teachers, of their capabilities and their interests versus what is available. The other question will be whether they are actually understanding what the market needs. We are speaking with Dr. Agnes Mercy Wahome. She is the CEO of the Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service. KUSPS, whatever floats your boat. That 85% statistic that you gave us, Dr. Wahome, you said, so you have 2 windows for students to select their courses and their preferred institutions of higher learning. This is before the exam and then after the results come out.
Yeah.
And then you said that you have noticed that of those that select their courses before the exam, 85% get the courses that they first wanted. Does this mean the first choice? That 85% get the first choice, what they had placed there as number 1, that's what they get.
Yes. You rightfully said we have 2 opportunities. One is while they're in school, and while they're in school, they are guided by their teachers, their career teachers, to select the course and the universities. So the teacher here looks at the students' abilities, and they're able to guide them. That the parents also come in and they participate in this. Now, when the results are out, they have now the other opportunity to choose based on my performance. Now, what can I do? And I find out not the very objective part, because it's really guided, driven by the results. And they have the choices. We provide 4 opportunities. Choice 1 has A, B, and C. 1A is 1 course, 1 in a university. For example, medicine, University of Nairobi. 1B, medicine, Kenyatta. 1C, medicine, Moi. Then choice 2 can be education, choice 3, pharmacy, choice 4.
Okay.
So you find those who are now in school, and you find they will pick, they're likely to get the 1A, 1B, or 1C.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, when the results are out, the student who gets an A, for example, everybody says, oh, you got an A, you can do medicine. And they forget that we have over 3,000 A's in the country. Yeah. That one who looks at the website on the University of, let me say, Moi, or looks at the medical board and they say the minimum is 4 B's in maths, biology, chemistry, and a language. And I have a B+. I have the 4 B's.
Yeah.
And they go for it. So we found that you find like for almost 30,000 students all selecting medicine. Yeah.
Post results.
Post results. And they forget that they are in a competition for government sponsorship. Remember, when we are looking at what can the government sponsor. You can't take everyone. The universities also have classes that cannot take, they're limited.
There's limited capacity.
Capacities, exactly. So we put the capacity and the grade, and they compete. And we do this electronically, so it's not...
it's an algorithm.
Exactly. I was avoiding
Yes.
that. The language, the jargon. But we do that and we get the best. And you find, I think you've seen in the papers, students with A, straight A's, and they say, I was even among the list of 100 students. I applied for medicine, and KUSPS has denied me the opportunity to do the course, the career of my choice. They don't understand there's that competition. We have less than 500 slots for medicine in this country. Now,
And you got 30,000 people at one
Applicants.
point
Yes.
applying
and over 3,000 students with straight A's.
that would
Yeah.
qualify them for those
Yeah.
500 slots.
But my problem is now not even the student. It's that parent who says A equals to medicine. But A can be communication. A can be education. Yeah,
And it could be that
Yes.
the child
Yes.
doesn't want this medicine,
exactly.
and the
Child wants
child's gifts
education.
and talents are pointing to the
Exactly.
communication.
So they go in because they have been pushed. On the first year, they have to deal with anatomy and the, handling of cadavers at the anatomy labs. And they realize they can't do it. And they come to us and they say, I want to change. So the pressure now from the parent, the guardian, you're an A student, you can't do communication.
Yeah.
Now this student is pushed to either not attend class, get into drugs, and we're not surprised when we hear the students have committed suicide. So my worry is that A
It's
student,
the
not
parents.
even the C, the D student. You know what? From observation, the D student seems to be ignored, and they seem to do better because, they're
They're
able
left
to
to
think
yeah.
on
They don't
their
have pressure.
own. There's no pressure, and they try out what they think is within their capacity. But that A, the father says this, the mother says this, and you find the parents now say, okay, I didn't make it into medicine. I would have
live
loved
vicariously through my child.
through my child. Yeah. Now the school wants, to sell.
Yeah. Our
So they
students are
say,
in
yes, we were able to push this number of students to
medicine.
the following courses.
Law.
Yeah. So if it's a private school, that's a selling point. They put on their websites and on their notice boards. And this puts so much pressure on the students that clearly, I say, let the children be. You mentioned about the job market. Do you know we are having a problem of absorbing the doctors that we are training currently?
Why?
We have doctors who are jobless.
Because there are no positions.
There are no positions.
But is there a need for them?
There is need, yes. But remember, we are also having other courses. We are now training clinical officers,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Both in KMTC and in the universities.
Same with nurses.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we have the diploma nurses and we have
the degree.
But when it comes to the job market, with the economy, if I run a hospital and I have a choice between a degree nurse and a diploma nurse,
You're going to take the diploma.
I ran for the diploma.
This is interesting that you say this because I was going to, one of the questions that I was going to ask in terms of what condition fuels the situation. Are we saying that we will then be advising students at your level of what is dictated by the job market? A couple of months ago, we saw a story of that, I believe it was the Engineering Society, who was not then going to award certification to a particular engineering student because there was a course that either they had not completed and so now that did not allow them to get into a particular
To the engineering
board.
The role of engineers.
Because of something that was not taken at the university level.
It was a
But as
certification
far
issue.
as they're concerned,
Yes.
they have awarded this degree, they're done. Now, on part of the student, and it could happen across board in any course whatsoever, is the job market then what is fueling the advice that COPs would give, for example, to these students? Or are we just saying, go ahead and study what it is that you are interested in and what the environment currently provides? Or are we saying where you're going to end up eventually, this and this and this should dictate your decision today?
Now, it's a complex situation because where we sit at COPs, we engage with the universities or training institutions, and then we engage with the job market, the professionals,
Bodies, yeah.
professional bodies, and we say, give us your minimum for you to be a teacher in this country, what are the minimums that TSC expects you to have? And then we look at what the universities are offering, and we set a criteria. So what we publish on our websites, what we tell the students is that they have to, this is what the market needs, and this is what the universities are offering. So we have to match the two and ensure that while we do not set a situation where the students will get out after graduation and realize they cannot fit in the market. Yeah. So we are very keen on checking those subject requirements. So some feel that, the university says they only need this. And COOPS is insisting on adding mathematics to that course. But we have checked with the regulator. And it's been a debate now, who should be the, who
has
calls
the
the
final
shots?
say?
Final say,
Yeah. So that's a discussion for another day. And we have the Commission for University Education, and we have TVETA, that are regulators that really work to get that balance. But looking at the market, yes, we look and say, since we engage with the professional bodies, then we are able to see how are things going on at that level, to be able to advise the students
on the careers to choose.
On the careers to choose, exactly.
And one would be expecting that TVETA and the Commission on University Education are doing the same. That they are also awarding charters to universities for programs, and even colleges for programs that meet market demand. That is what one would be hoping. That when you say that, all right, so we have allowed the University of Nairobi to come up with X number of programs, those mirror what the market is demanding. Because if you go and you find the market is demanding this and you're advising students to do this, but this university has been allowed to come up with a program or to still retain a program that does not address the need,
But Eric,
there's going to be a whole confusion.
consider this, how do you balance the university's need to actually collect fees? Because they do need to collect fees.
Yep.
And some of these courses may be popular, but they may not necessarily meet that threshold that you're referring to with regards to the
Markets.
job market. Okay?
I think that's where the regulator comes in.
Yes.
Because the regulator is the one that allows you to roll out that program.
Yes.
If you come up with a program, the regulator should look and say, we have already licensed University A, B, C to run with this, and their capacity is X, and the market is already saturated by the graduates that are coming out of that. So we cannot allow you, Mr. University
Actually,
CT.
my argument was the flip side of that.
Eh,
Discontinuing a course. Because
We've seen it.
a course may be popular,
yeah.
but the job market doesn't really need it. It's fairly saturated. Now, the point at which you allow someone to register, that one is easy. You can determine whether they're going to have it or not, but you already have it. You can see the income it brings. You can see the income it keeps bringing. And yet, it's not really needed.
I really don't want to get into that, but we really have to have
we really
honest,
we really want you
because
You can skirt around it, we'll get it. Yes, don't worry.
no, we at COOPS, the board of COOPS has both TVETA and the commission. And we have representatives of public universities and private universities, and we have representatives of the technical colleges. That forms the board.
Okay.
And we usually have such discussions, where we are saying we really need to be open with ourselves, honest with ourselves, and say, this course, because you find some universities will add, will say Bachelor of Nursing with this to try and market, with technology, with IT, to try and market. But we're saying, can we really think about the student?
Yeah.
We are training for a market. We are not training to get the university to earn some money.
Yeah.
So we have to have that balance and say that the end product is this student who we want to be able to get into the job market. And we need to come up with courses that are really needed at that job market. It's not about what is the easiest to, churn out and get money for the institution. So we have been having such discussions in the few months, and I can assure you that there will be some changes in some of these universities.
The focus is on the student. But you said something, I think you repeated it a number of times, is that you're really concerned then about parents who are serious about their children and their development. So how involved then are parents in this process? Because they are probably some of the greatest influencers of this student that your attention is being given on. So because COOPS can say whatever it wants to say. The commission can say whatever it wants to say. But that child is in my house, is going to listen to their parent. So how much are you working on the parent? And how much are you involving the parent in this process then of transition?
To be honest, we haven't had that much engagement with the parents because we expect once we train these teachers, and they are the ones who know the parents, they have a bigger role to play. But we have developed material. I was engaged in developing the career guidance book. For those of us who went to school those years, we had a career book. Then we realized that disappeared somehow. So when I went into COOPS, that was one of my priorities, to get information and all together. And the book really spells out the role of parents in career choices. And this is a book that is now in all the major bookshops. And we are also distributing the books through the schools. So it, apart from looking at the different careers that are now in the market and the different courses that are in the training institutions, it really has a section where it guides a parent or a guardian how to work with the students to identify their talents, their abilities, and how that plays out in their career choices.
There's something you said. I suspect I didn't quite get it, so I'm seeking clarity here or clarification. Training, counseling, and guidance teachers to be able to offer the service that we're talking about. Now, did I hear you mention that it's also available to the other teachers in the school?
The target has first been the career teachers.
Okay, now.
Yes, and you were concerned that this same teacher has a lot more responsibility.
Yes.
Yes.
So you can see where I'm going with this. So I'm saying
Exactly.
that since this teacher probably has the same teaching background or was trained in the same way as these other teachers, why is there a plan perhaps to escalate this training so that the other subject teachers, remember, we're talking about career choices, and these career choices involve subjects. So should the other subject teachers also not, or should there not be a plan for these other subject teachers to also be considered for this training?
I would love to do that. And we are working with an institution called KEMI. Kenya.
These acronyms.
Well, KEMI builds the capacities of schools, head teachers and boards and schools. So we have come up with a training curriculum for career teachers so that it's a continuous process. And teachers, like all other professionals, love some kind of training because it also plays when it comes to promotion. Yes. So that seems to also be a motivator to the teachers. So we are looking at that as a continuous program. We have been doing it with KEMI for the TVET institutions and universities, because they already have established career offices also. So we've been training them on a continuous basis for the last 2 years. So we want to have the same now for the teachers. So we run the programs during school holidays so that a teacher can be a subject, maths teacher. You don't have to be the career guidance teacher. You can take this, pay for yourself, do the training, and also help. But I also mentioned KESHA, the School Heads Association, that brings together the leaders.
School head.
Yes, the leaders in school, the head
The
boys,
head boy,
and yeah.
yeah.
Because I'm looking at peer counseling.
Peer
Yes, yes. So that it's a continuous thing within the school by the students. So if I'm in Form 2, I go to Form 3, I will be able to help the Form 2s.
Right.
And,
So let's come back then to the parents. Because, like you've said, they're a critical stakeholder in this, just as much as the teachers are and the students. But the parents, because of their influence, they need to be brought in quick, fast. So which organizations and other stakeholders do you need to use to make sure that we as parents get the information from COOPS as quickly as possible and as well percolated as possible, so we stop applying pressure to it? Because I mean,
yeah.
an A in my house and you're going to do it to what again?
You know what? I would take, yeah.
Poetry.
Now, I'll take that as a challenge to go and really think how to engage the parents in a better way. But my argument has been, once the student is empowered, and you remember they spend more time in school than they spend with the...
Right.
If I have a very confident and well-empowered students, they can be able to tell the parent, no, this is what I want,
Yeah.
right?
True.
Yes. So I
True.
take it as a challenge that I'll go and think how best can I engage parents?
With this training that you mentioned, was it Kish or was it anyway, whatever it was?
Kemi.
Kemi, yes. Peer-to-peer among students makes sense. Peer-to-peer among teachers, so that you have a trainer
Yes.
who can later become a trainer of trainers, so that this system that you're saying, as Eric likes saying, it germinates within itself and it grows within itself into perpetuity, so that even if somebody new joins in,
Yeah,
the system already caters for this.
exactly.
Did I hear you mention that you have something of this sort?
Yes, with the Kemi, we are looking at the teacher training of trainers, so that the teacher is not just trained to provide the one-on-one, but also to empower other teachers within their institutions. Right.
There's a question here from somebody who's I'd be interested to know if COOPS only does placement and career guidance in public schools, and if yes, why are private schools left out?
First things first, we are government organizations, so we operate under the Ministry of Education, and we have we work with the director secondary. But that doesn't mean the private schools are exempted. We work with the private schools mainly on invitation. We have trained, I think we had a training of teachers in career guidance in Kianda School. Yeah. We've done the same with, I think, Pioneer. We engage with private schools because when they invite us, we do not discriminate and we do not charge for our services.
Okay.
But in terms of planning, I
Your
can tell you
focus is public.
we work with the education officers at the county who mainly work with the public schools.
Thank you very much for joining us today. It's a good opening to our conversations. So next week, Tuesday, you release the list
Yes.
where people are going, which universities and colleges those students are going to go to.
Yes. 7
Will you-
a.m. at KICD.
We will invite you after that. Once the whole rumbling comes out,
Yes.
you will come and then you will respond to the questions.
Certainly.
Asante sana. Dr.
Thank you.
Agnes Wahome, the CEO of Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service. Take us to the weekend city with today's proverb.
Confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying grain in a sack with a hole. As you walk,
Eh.
you will leave a trail of your grain. And you'll get to a point where you wonder why this sack has suddenly become lighter.
Have a lovely weekend, folks. See you again on Monday. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.